This is the Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski.
Featuring defense attorney, Hidden Killers daily contributor, and host of the Defense Diaries podcast, Bob Motta.
Kevin Frankie is saying that he is focused on doing what is best for his kids at this point, as his wife, Ruby, is behind bars along with Jodi Hildebrand. Doesn't want to sling mud or point any fingers. Also, in some statements, says he wants to work through concerns as a family, that there was never any formal written decree of separate maintenance or separation agreement with the couple. That's what his defense attorney is saying, that they are separated, Ruby and Kevin, for about 13 months for what we know right now. Again, he's the dad, and this sort of stuff doesn't necessarily seem to happen in a vacuum with Ruby. Is he really just trying to cover his tracks right now and be the good guy when maybe he was looking the other way for quite some time, or who knows, possibly even participating?
Yeah, I mean, that's where your brain goes. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's one of two things. Either he's going to flip on her, or he's trying to do a CYA. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's hard to know which one. But again, with this case, at the end of the day, we're going to have the kids and what they know and what they say. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care what he's saying, to be honest with you. What I care about is what the kids are going to say. Now, if he was peripheral, if they feel like, okay, well, dad wasn't doing anything, but he wasn't stopping it either. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's hard to say how the kids will play that thing out, because ultimately what we're talking about is significant stretches of prison time. And are these kids in a position where they want both of their parents in prison? You know, so I mean, there's a lot of dynamics at play. It's not as simple as just, because ultimately this case is going to hinge upon what the kids testify to as to what happened to them. Yeah. It's going to be more significant than anybody else's testimony. I don't like Dad, Ruby, the publicist, they won't matter. The publicist and Ruby are going to deny. Dad may deny it. He may make some admissions that he was somewhat aware of it, but, you know, he didn't think it was whatever he's going to say. At the end of the day, what it's going to boil down to is that what the kids say is what's going to go, because these are old kids that are old enough to where they're going to be competent witnesses. You know what I'm saying? Like these aren't like toddlers. You know, these are kids that are old enough to know exactly what went on. They're going to be giving damning testimony. And, you know, the thing that I tend to think is if the kids made allegations against dad during their CAC or their child advocacy interviews or interviews with law enforcement, he would have been under arrest at this point. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be either that he's going to testify or he just didn't do anything, you know, and he didn't have actual knowledge of it, you know, and then the kids are going to either they're going to be used to impeach him, or they're going to be used to substantiate what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? But like trying to figure out how that's going to play out in the minds of these children who are staring at potentially both of their parents going to prison is a complicated thing to try to figure out, you know, and without personally knowing these kids and understanding like where their thinking is on that, you know, I mean, their father could have done things that they took exception to, but not to the extent where they're like, well, we're putting dad in too. You know what I mean?
Or even being kids understanding, you know, wanting to do the right thing, wanting to say what happened, but maybe not even fully understanding the repercussions of if they make accusations that may in fact be very true, what that may then mean for their father. I did think it was very interesting what his attorney said on today, that Kevin is more interested in reaching out to his children, family, and friends to heal the past trauma and events. That can be interpreted one of two ways. Of he's talking about what Ruby may have put them through, or to me, it almost read of more like what he was around to see when he wants to help heal the kids from that. And it even says he's focused on doing what's best for the kids, even if it means undergoing some introspection. I think that very much points to maybe I wasn't the best dad. Maybe I looked the other way in some things.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like anytime something like this comes about involving your children and you feel that you failed them, you know, that guilt's got to be overwhelming. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, like and that could be completely legitimate, you know, like, and that would substantiate that. Yeah, I didn't know, or I disagreed with her parental strategies. But I didn't necessarily believe that it was abusive. You know what I'm saying? But like, then he has to step back and look at all of it in retrospect. He's like, man, if I'm looking at the totality of the circumstances, I should have done something because I let it slide just because I thought it was parenting techniques. Sure. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and nobody wants to.
I don't admire the guy, and I don't envy him because it's a horrible situation to be in.
It's a trauma. I mean, if in fact, he did look the other way on some things, either he's an idiot and doesn't care about his kids, but I think he probably does. But it's the slow boil thing too. Nobody wants to think their partner that maybe at the beginning was a very good mom and parent slowly turns into this monster. Nobody wants to think that their spouse is doing that wrong or that horrible, and then suddenly it really hits you like, what the hell is going on here? And it's already gone so far off the rails. That puts him as being a victim as well. It still puts him to have some culpability here. He is the adult and the parent, not dismissing that whatsoever. But at the end of the day, I wonder how much of an abuse victim he is as well. And what sort of pressure, or I think brainwashing might be strong, but manipulation he was under with her that allowed him to mentally look the other way if that's what was going on.
100%, and you nailed it, because like they were making a lot of money from the stream. You know what I mean? So she was in the position of having the leverage in that relationship. You know what I mean? Like she was the star of the show. So, and money in this world, sadly, rules everything. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So in terms of that kind of leverage that she could have wielded over him in terms of, I'm cutting you off, shut your mouth, I'm running this thing. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know what those inner workings were, but in light of the way that we know that she treated her children, I can't imagine that it's too much different than how she treated her husband, to be honest with you. I mean, it's like those things kind of go hand in hand. And, financial abuse, especially, I mean, you typically talk about it from the woman's side, especially back, for the past 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years, where men have controlled women by financial means, by withholding money. You know what I'm saying? So when you put the shoe on the other foot, you have Ruby is the one who's really controlling the purse strings here. It creates a situation where she is going to be the one who's going to have the leverage in terms of the relationship. So, I mean, it's everything you said is certainly possible, man.
Yeah.
You're consuming the Hidden Killers podcast.
Want more? Start binging on all of our true crime podcasts right now through Apple Podcasts, and get an ad-free experience when you sign up to be a True Crime Today Premium Plus member, exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast, dropping soon.
Press subscribe now.